Sometimes the spirit whispers, it whispers what your flesh resists. It'll say, at some point on your journey as a man, at some point, and maybe possibly at several points, it's gonna whisper to you. And your flesh is gonna resist the need to fall back. It's gonna tell you it's time to fall back, and it'll come at a time when you possibly feel like you need to press forward. Met some resistance, and often the time calls for consecration. It may feel like defeat, but you didn't lose. It's time to rediscover. There comes a time when noise is your greatest enemy, and solitude becomes your only sanctuary. Think of Moses. He was raised in Pharaoh's palace, privilege, power were at his fingertips. Yet his ultimate destiny did not unfold in the courts of Egypt. It really began when he fled to the wilderness, away from the noise of society, of men. And he spent 40 years as a shepherd in Midian. And it was only in the quiet did God call him from that burning bush. So, to some, especially after 40 years, his fallback might look like failure, but it was not. It was a formation. Jesus, Jesus the Christ, Yeshua, whatever you want to call him, he too often withdrew before he chose his disciples, before the cross, even after his great miracles. He would depart into a solitary place and he prayed and he would petition and talk with God. So if the Son of God, Son of Man, if he embraced isolation, not because he was defeated, not because he was weak, but because he needed that alignment, if he, perfect and divine, needed separation, how much more do we, right? For a man, especially one maybe with responsibilities, modern day man with family, this doesn't always mean vanishing into the desert. It can, if you have that opportunity, if the spirit whispers to you, that may be your journey to actually disappear into an isolated place. But realistically, more practically for most of you, that's going to look like changing your routines. Okay, so some of you are going to have to rise before your house stirs and give that first hour of your day to silence, to scripture, to prayer, meditation, and let your children wake up seeing you retreat into the presence of the Almighty. So presence over productivity sometimes. You want to reevaluate your circles. Abraham, he was called to leave Abram at the time, he was called to leave his land and his kin, um, leave Ur the Chaldeans, and step into a covenant relationship um, that was, at the time for him, a lot of unknowns and a lot of faith was required. He's the father of faith for that. So sometimes you have to leave those that you call your family, that or you call your friends, who once fit your season, they can now weigh down your destiny. So ask God to reveal which voices are anchors and which voices are chains as far as your loved ones. And like I said before, sometimes you do have to shift your location. Um, at times it may be in conjunction or simultaneously with changing jobs, shifting work. The Apostle Paul, he was often redirected, um, and he was sometimes forbidden by the Spirit to go where he thought he should. So don't fear if a job or a city change is the very tool God uses to carve your ultimate destiny. And then you can just take micro retreats, even with your family. You can carve out some sacred space for yourself, um, or walk without your phone. I know I have my phone with me, but I walk often without this goddamn phone. Okay, a weekend fast from screens, and we should all have a Sabbath day, a day of rest, where only your only agenda is to commune with God. Okay, so these are just practices that are, I would say, necessary. It's falling back, um, maybe for a day, for a season, knowing that this is a necessary tool that a man of aptitude, charm, and knowledge, a man of ultimate destiny, has to adopt. Falling back doesn't mean abandoning your responsibilities. Think of Noah. That's why you gotta get the word. Read the word. The word is so practical and applicable to our lives. Noah built an ark, right? We know Noah's ark. The world mocked him while he did it. His obedience preserved his family. And sometimes protecting your household requires stepping away from the world's rhythms, right? He stepped away so he could hear God's instructions clearly. So again, it may feel like a loss. That's so much of the trepidation people, especially men, face is that they feel like any time spent away not in so-called productivity is a loss, is a you're falling behind. Your status may disappear, your recognition, your comfort. But Joseph, I'm gonna I'm gonna include all the heroes of the Bible. Joseph, he was hidden in prison before he was exalted to the palace. David, he was concealed in caves. He was crowned the king, and then he had to be concealed in caves for a certain amount of time. God does his finest work in the shadows, is what I'm saying. So if you feel that tug on your spirit to isolate, to upend, to reorder your life, don't resist it. It's not punishment, it's more preparation. And this may happen several times in your life. For me, I've had several periods of isolation. I feel like I've come out of a season of isolation and I have a lot to share. That's where these videos are coming from. But your destiny is too costly to be crowded out by noise. Okay, it's like the butterfly in the cocoon. It's only a matter of time before you emerge a new creature when you take the time to isolate yourself. So that's the message I have for you right now. Peace and blessings.